Room237, back with another review. Now, this is another blind buy that I picked up today. Now, if you saw my last review, which was for the 2021 film Dashcam, that was just something I had heard of, saw it at Walmart today, decided to pick up. This was another one I saw that I didn't even know was a movie. I didn't know this was a thing. Just based off the title, the cover, and just some of the reviews on it, I thought I'm going to pick that up too. And if you saw my review for Dashcam, it wasn't an epic rant, but it was a decent rant. I was not a fan of that film. This one, however, even bigger blind buy. Like I said, I didn't know a thing about this movie. Yes, technically it is a worse made film, but that it kind of plays into what they were going for. It is a film from 2020, and it is Cyst. Cyst. With a title like that, that cover. I mean, this looks like it would be an Aaron Beauregard book, but yeah, just look at that. And if you notice the poster that was in the thumbnail, yes, it was designed to look like a old school, like grindhouse kind of monster movie. It does take place in the 1960s, and with the opening and closing credits, it does kind of play out like a movie from the 70s. You know, like a gross out, grindhouse type 70s movie. But it also plays out, it even looks like a sci-fi 50s B movie. Sci-fi monster B movie. But it's all played for laughs. Kind of like a early Peter Jackson type movie. It's all meant to be over the top, just gross, just for the sake of being gross. First thing you see in this movie is a cyst being, popped very, extravagantly. And right there, that was the opening. That's the first thing we see after the opening credits. And I thought, I am in for like a cyst version of Dead Alive. Even Dead Alive had a cyst that bursts, lands in the porridge. But once you get to like the second half, it is more of like a monster movie. They're hiding from this giant cyst monster. I know it sounds crazy, but I won't get into all that. It is very fun, and this is one of those movies that's kind of criticism proof for different reasons than movies like, say, August Underground. That's a movie where all criticisms play into what it's going for. This, like, if you say the monster looks crappy, it's supposed to. It's supposed to look like a guy in a rubber suit, like a 50s B movie. If you say it's gross and disgusting, it's supposed to. If you say the acting is over the top and silly, it's supposed to. It's supposed to. Everything about this movie is over the top, sci-fi horror, black comedy. So, even the concept, the whole story is so outlandish and absurd that any criticisms to the story, like, well, why did this character do that? Or why did they do this when they could have done that? It's just going to sound like a nitpick because it's just so absurd as is that you can't really criticize it. You can either just say it was too dumb and I didn't like it, or I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it. Even the font of the title reminds me of like a porno grind band, like Torso Fuck, or what was that one band called? Gut. It kind of looks like the logo for Gut or Torso Fuck or something. And yeah, if you're grossed out by stuff like Dr. Pimple Popper, you're probably going to find this gross. Even though the pus basically just does look like milk. It does have a very watery texture. They could have used like mashed potatoes or something, give it a little bit more substance. Maybe that would have made it more gross. But it's still a gross out movie. Now, it was written and directed by Tyler Russell, who also directed movies like Texas Cotton. I think he directed Trolls World, Here Comes Rusty, Buckle Up, which this stars George Hardy, who was in Troll 2, and I believe he was in Trolls World, Here Comes Rusty. He's worked with the director Russell quite a few times. And written by Tyler Russell and Andy Silverman, stars Eva Haberman, George Hardy, Greg Sestero, and Nick Gardner did the cinematography. I like sound design, sound department, which I've seen them before. Oh, music by Sam Lippman, and the effects was done by Tolan Effects. Now, the effects on cysts like this, yeah, it's pretty gross. And the pus, again, it looks like milk. So like when it sprays all over the nurse, it just kind of looks like water. So the gross factor doesn't stay like if it actually had something chunky that you could still see. But once it gets to the actual cyst monster, yeah, it does look like a guy in a big rubber suit that's kind of stiff moving. It has these stock kind of monster sounds. But that just plays into it. It just with how it's supposed to be just this silly over the top throwback. The story is it takes place in, like I said, the 1960s, and nurse Patricia, who works at this acne clinic run by Dr. Guy, played by George Hardy. George Hardy is this mad scientist who's trying to patent this machine that's like a laser gun. It's like a laser with a vacuum to efficiently eliminate all cysts and acne. You know, painlessly with no stitches, more efficiently. But each year, patent clerks come, something goes wrong, including some backstory with Nurse Patricia with some scars. She said if he ever tried to patent it again, he would quit, or she would quit. He wants to patent it again, so she's going to quit, and today is her last day. It is kind of a running gag, or it felt like it was going to be, like Dante and Clerks, like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. Kind of like this is supposed to be my last day. It just keeps getting worse. Also, I wanted to get his name because the only one I really recognized, other than George Hardy being in Troll 2, was Gene Jones, who plays a guy in the waiting room that super early keeps asking if they're ready, but he just has to sit in the waiting room. He was the gas station attendant in No Country for Old Men, the coin flip scene. And basically, side note, just look at that. It looks like an old VHS spine. Even this just reminds me of like old video store VHS. I love that. He has this special cream to make this intern acne on his back bigger because they say, oh, you don't really need a machine for that. Just use tweezers. So he wants to enlarge it so he can use the machine. Thus, he gets this. That's actually what it looks like in the movie. And the machine goes awry. It actually kind of starts to suck him inside out. And we're left with a cyst monster that starts out like his skull with like his fingers as spider legs. Think like the spider monster from The Thing. Latches onto someone, and each person it eats, it gets larger and bigger. And it does kind of play out like an older movie, because like at first, you'll just see people get like attacked off screen, or the one where the guy's on the ground and he just gets like pulled away into the darkness. But when we do see it eat people, it just like they just like get sucked inside of them with like acid. And yeah, it looks like a giant rubber or foam suit. It doesn't really have. I mean, it kind of has this texture, but it's really just like this big purple thing with one eye that's like pulsating out of its head. All these tentacles. Now I thought I was gonna get like a David Cronenberg throwback, which would have been cool, maybe with some Peter Jackson comedy. But I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. Wow, I enjoyed this sort of '50s B movie throwback, and the fact is just this giant cyst monster is just so crazy. Even like when it starts going through the through the air duct or whatever, you just see all the milky pus coming through like the air vents to show that it's coming. It's yeah, it is a gross out movie, but most of the real gross out stuff, the more effective stuff, is in the first half, dealing with actual cysts, like with other patients. Like this one woman that has a giant one, he like stabs her with a pencil and then just. Of course, they always spray all over Nurse Patricia. Um, an over the top thing is just how crazy this guy is. I mean, even with the patent clerks, and he's just like, well, take a seat. And laughing maniacally. Like, people would call the cops on this guy in a second. It's story wise, I can't really say anything that was like a dumb decision or why did they do this or why did they have a character do that. Because, like I said, the story is just so absurd, you just kind of got to run with it. Like, he doesn't want the patent clerks to leave, so he hits this button that, like, seals all the windows and exits so no one can leave, so they're trapped in there with the monster. I even loved the line which he's like, so there's no way to reverse the shutters, and he's like, well, yeah, in case of an emergency. And this is after like 4 people have been eaten by this thing, and she's just like, oh. I thought that was funny. It does have a Troll 2 kind of feel to it, with it's both intentional and unintentional comedy. Well, I think the whole movie is intentionally comedic. But think about like the oh my god scene from Troll 2. It's eating her. Oh my god. Like, that's kind of the acting throughout this whole movie. And I know it's played for laughs. So anyone that says that, the acting is bad, they really don't get it. Like, this isn't just someone trying to make a gross horror movie and it has bad acting and it's just silly. No, this whole movie's played for laughs, and that's why it's entertaining. You get just the absurd story and concept and the gross out factor with decent makeup effects, especially on like the cyst. Yeah, the monster does look fake, but again, that's intentional. It's fairly short. It's only 73 minutes. And this was put out by, I meant to say this earlier, RLJE Films. Which, the more I see by them, the more they're getting up there with A24 and IFC Midnight as one of my favorite companies. On top of my head, I mean, they also did The Owners, and they did several films that I've seen recently that I really enjoyed. It kind of does. It kind of does blur the line of, okay, what's played for laughs and okay, what is actually, was meant to be taken seriously, but the whole movie's so silly that you can't really tell. I honestly think the whole thing was played for laughs. And I will say it wasn't as gross out throughout as I expected. I expected it to be like a Dead Alive level gross out throughout. And yeah, the first half you do get a lot of pimple popping where it's just extravagant and crazy. And then once the monster comes alive and starts doing its thing, it's basically just the monster until it starts going through the air vents. Then the pus is going everywhere. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I guess this will be a shorter review, but I mean, I had never heard of this movie until I saw it on the shelf at Walmart, and I thought, well, I can't just buy dash cam. I mean, this looks fun, or at the very least looks really stupid in an entertaining way. And yeah, I'm sure you could say it is stupid. It kind of is. In like a Troll 2, well, it's not as bad a movie as Troll 2. It is better made, but it's trying to be that kind of camp. So I'm actually glad I picked this up because I had a lot of fun with it. It's gross out. It's good throwback. It feels like it's going to be a 70s David Cronenberg type throwback with some comedy. Ends up being this crazy guy in a foam suit giant monster movie from like 50s sci-fi B movies. And I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, acting is meant to be over the top and silly. The story is supposed to be as absurd as possible. And yeah, it's only 73 minutes, so I mean, anybody can have fun with that. But yeah, that is, I don't really know what else to say about it. That is Cyst from 2020. I had a lot of fun. But anyway, that's that, and thank you for watching.